point have been GET requests. But sometimes we may want to have a user send over a little bit more information than maybe just a name in the URL. So certainly at some point in your lives, you've interacted with a form in HTML. So something that looks like this. Maybe when you register for a website, you have to give your name and your email, and it'll say sign up. So now it's time for us to build this out. Most often when we're going to be using forms, we're going to be making post requests. And the way this looks in the back end is that we're going to have a form, and then the important piece for us now, wherein when we were doing CSS, the class and the ID were important for styling, but now some of the important pieces are going to be, one, the action now is going to play an important role. The action is going to be the route that this form takes. For example, maybe we'll process the form. Another part is that we're going to have a method. And again, most often the method is going to be post. If you don't put it by default, the form will be submitted as a GET request. So make sure that you have this indicated that you want this form to be a post request. And then what do these boxes look like? So we've done the before. Maybe we have the word name out here as part of the label, maybe in a p tag. But then the important part for us here is that we have an input. And there's different types, but we'll stick with text for now, that they're able to just type into the text box. And here's the most important thing that we're going to be using is the name. And let's just give it a name of, I'm using different names here so you can start to see which names correlate with which parts. So we'll close that for p tag there. And then we'll need an email. Also put it as text and give it a name. And it's also important that we have an input button. You can either use a button or you can use an input of type equals submit. What you do not want is an input type equals button. An input type equals button or a button, if it's a type button, it will only just look like a button but won't actually do anything. So it's important that we use input type equals submit or a button. And then if we want it to say something, the value of a button is simply what it displays, what words are displayed on the button. So we'll just have it say sign up. So that's what it will look like. How does that then come over to our function? So first of all, we know we're going to then need a route. The first piece here is that we're going to want to make sure that this route matches what we put here. Another important factor is that since we are using a post request, we want to indicate over here, and notice there's an S on this side because it could be a list of different types of requests that this route will allow. So by default, it always accepts GET requests, which is what we've been doing so far, but now we need to indicate that it accepts post requests. So that's this piece. Then we'll have a function. And how does this information come over? So what happens is, to your user it looks like this, and our HTML looks like this, and the process from here to get this data to our function, a dictionary gets created as part of our request object. And what that means is that these names that are used here become keys in this dictionary. And whatever the user typed in, so say for example, the user typed in noel@cd.com. So if that's what I typed in, those are the values that are going to come over here. And then here, we refer to them. This comes over through something called request. And specifically request.form. So the way we refer to it here is we can refer to that request.form, and we can access those different keys. So for example, I could print request.form username, or request.form email. And then everything else that we've learned up to this point still applies, right? We can print them out here, we can send them to an HTML page. These just become values that we're able to retrieve from the request, from the post request.